Thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to do this. Hi, Dina. So we're going to wait for Yafa, and I'm so grateful that she's coming on. There were so many amazing questions, really meaningful questions, very hard questions to answer, and I thought that she would just be the perfect person to answer them. She's strong but sweet. She's got a tremendously beautiful message and just a really emistic hashkafa. So I'm excited for her to come on. Hi, Renee. Let me just message her and make sure she is coming. I'm sure she is. We're waiting for you. Life with two phones. This was one of the things that I did to help. There she is, Yafa. Okay. Do you know how to request to join? There you go. Okay, here she comes. There we go. Hi.
Hello. Do you see me okay?
I see you. You're beautiful.
So are you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be on here with you.
Me too. This is great.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. So, first of all, I love your hair, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's beanie. It's not mine. It works.
It's yours. You paid for it.
Yeah.
I love when people ask me, like, is that your hair? Oh, yeah. I paid a lot for this hair. It's mine.
Exactly. Thank you. So Yafa, thank you for joining us. I was so excited that you wanted to do this. I was getting such challenging questions, and to some people, we communicated, I spoke to them, just my own personal thoughts. But as they kept coming in, I've really never gotten so many messages on a topic ever. I think for sure over 300 messages in 24 hours. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was really, a lot of them were just like hearts and like Am Yisrael Chai, and a lot of them were just like, this was so moving. Thank you for sharing, things like that. Okay. And then a lot of people had really hard questions. So the first day was a lot of, how do I tell our children? So that's why I brought Rachel on. And I know I myself had those questions. And it was also before they had the Hachnas Sefer Torah, before you sort of saw that circle of what came together. So that was amazing. And I think it was so helpful. And then there was so much amazing feedback on how people really gained so much from it. And people wrote in like, it calmed my anxiety, like strong words, it really gave you tools. I feel so much better. Even I was communicating with one woman this morning that she just said, like, I live in Muncie, and I know what Rachel said about not talking to young kids, and she was telling me your concerns, and we talked it out, and she felt like, okay, like I have a plan of what to do. So I just realized that this really is, people have been coming here as I think what Rachel was saying yesterday is just a place to feel support and to feel heard. But I really knew that I needed, the big guns here. And I love to all of you. I love what Yafa stands for, what she's about. I don't really follow like I follow a lot of people, but to really watch people's stories, I just don't have so much time. But Yafa's is one of my, top choices if I have time, because it's always such a real message said over so beautifully that touches the heart. And I think that your Hashkafa Sachayim is, it's the Torah Hashkafa, and you give it over in such a real way, in such a way that I think people can actually feel like, oh, I can do that. So I was so excited to have you join, because we got some really tough questions that you got to see. And we went over them. We really we did our homework, guys. We really spoke today and talked this out. And I'm really excited for you to address the many really, really important concerns that people have.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for all that. And I'm very honored that you invited me to this live with you. And I hope that we'll be able to, really with Hashem's help, that we'll be able to touch everybody. And what we say, it's coming from Torah, so hopefully it'll resonate with everybody. There's always going to be questions. There always are questions. And luckily, we are I'll say religion, for lack of a better word right now, that believes in questions, and we welcome questions. So questions are always great, and people need to understand, like, it doesn't mean you have a question of faith because you're asking questions. You know, there's always questions and there are always answers. So, you know, I'm very happy that people did send in their questions, that people really want to learn more and understand more. So let's try to jump right in. And the first thing that I did want to mention was that it's important. Expectations are always the most important thing, really, in life. To have the right expectation for anything you're doing. You know, this is regarding health. I mean, you know all about health. You have to have a healthy, realistic expectation for yourself, for anyone else, for your family members. You know, regarding any part of personal growth, whatever it is. Appointments in life is.
You were
just frozen.
Yeah, you were frozen for a second. Now you're back.
Okay, great.
Great.
So we'll just really what leads to the most disappointment in life is unrealistic expectations, or, you know, and therefore they're broken, right? So first we need to understand, who are we? Who are we as a Jewish nation? What's our goal? What's our purpose here? Where are we heading in life? I also want to point out, by the way, if people are writing that it's breaking up, just from previous experience, sometimes if it goes in and out on the live, when you save it, it doesn't do that. So if anyone misses anything, they should go back afterwards. You're going to save it, right? You'll make sure it's saved.
That's
Great. So they should go back afterwards. And if they watch it again, it doesn't come with all the brokenness. So just everyone have that in mind. Okay. So what's, you know, the expectation for who we are, what's expected of us, and what we expect, you know, to be the place where we live. What's our expectation of living in America? You know, because I find that if we understand who we really are, that we are a nation we're the torch carriers, and we are that because it's handed down. And I want you to know that a lot of the nations around the world, they know that. I do a lot of traveling and I meet so many people, and one of my favorite things to do is to sit on a plane next to somebody and get to know them. People from all over the world, or in an airport, you know, sometimes we're there for hours. Except when I'm just making the flight. But, you know, and so many times, and I always make sure to tell people I'm a Jew, and so many times they say, oh, you're a Jew, you're the chosen nation. Now, they don't always know what that means, but people are aware that we carry the torch. Now, what does it mean to be the chosen nation? That is something, I don't know if we can go into all of that now, but it's misunderstood sometimes. Being the chosen nation has nothing to do with privilege. It has nothing to do with superiority. It has to do with responsibility. It's just a responsibility that we carry, that we hold. And we have that passed down from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And where does anti-Semitism start? The first place that we recognize anti-Semitism in our history is in Parshas Vayishlach, which ironically, or not ironically, maybe I should say hashkachakli, was actually the week of the attack in Jersey City. That was Parshas Vayishlach.
Wow.
And actually, I actually spoke about this on a video that I put out. Some of you may have seen it. But that the idea is that when Yaakov and Esav, when Yaakov was fighting with Esav's Malach, that was the first time we experienced this anti-Semitism between them. And what happened over there was Yaakov was known to be he was an Ayin Tov. That's who he was. And there's proof after proof of how much of an Ayin Tov he was, somebody who focused on the positive, somebody who always saw the light in the darkness. And Esav, he brought 400 men with him. The gematria of Ayin Tov is 400. The idea is that Esav was trying to beat the Ayin Tov out of Yaakov. He couldn't handle his light because Esav represented darkness. And that is the story of us. The story of the Jewish people is that forever and ever, we are going to be the bearers of light, and the people who live in darkness or who represent darkness are going to target the light. Right? And that's who we are. So we have to have that expectation. Okay. And by the way, within that story, Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. Yaakov fought back, by the way, which is an important concept, that he did fight back because he was fighting for his right to carry the light, you know.
Right.
And that I want to mention this purposely to, you know, bring up what we'll talk about next. But during this fight is when Yaakov's name was changed to Yisrael. You know what Yisrael means? The definition of what?
Yashar Kal. I mean, that's one.
Okay, that's one. Actually, that's one. Yashar Kel. Another meaning for Yisrael actually means to struggle. It means
yes, yes, yeah.
right?
It was actually my son's bar mitzvah was Parshas Vayishlach, and my husband spoke about that. Right? Yeah.
Okay, so that's it means to struggle because that's who we are. We're always going to be struggling with the darkness and trying to win with our light. That's who we. So having this expectation actually can really reduce a lot of our anxiety because sometimes we hear, oh, this happened. Why is this happening again? Because it's supposed to happen. This is what's supposed to be happening. This is who we are. And it's our fate. So having that expectation is one thing. The other thing is, where do we live? You know, sometimes we forget because, Baruch Hashem, we are so comfortable in America. We've been treated so well. We've been taken care of. We have so many rights. We have so much freedom. I mean, I've lived in other places. I've lived in Mexico, for example. In Mexico, we can't have a shul with the Hebrew words on it. Everything is hidden. Everything is closed in. There's no way we could ever walk out publicly as a Jew. Like, it doesn't happen. We're really spoiled here in America. Right. And on one hand, it's a bracha. On the other hand, it's a little bit risky because we naively assume that America will never turn on us because they love us, right? And that's what we need to always understand, the expectation. We don't assume anything is going to happen. And between you and me, I honestly think that the biggest threat we have right now as a Jewish nation is not anti-Semitism, it's assimilation. So that's something to have in mind. Like, we're so scared of all the anti-Semitism. Assimilation is actually a way bigger threat. But it doesn't. So we have to create this balance for ourselves between not being naive to the fact that, of course, anything could happen. We're not safe. This isn't our home. And, you know, the balance between that and not being alarmed and not creating hysterics because we're not in imminent danger. It's just part of our life as Jewish people. It's part of the struggle. And that's a natural part of who we are. It's supposed to happen. So having that expectation can reduce a lot of anxiety, you know, and help a lot of acceptance. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. In addition to that, we as the Jewish nation are also extremely resilient. I mean, does it make any sense that we're still around? It makes no sense. It really doesn't, right? We know Bechol Davar Dar, they tried to kill us over and over again. And by the way, back to the story with Esav, at the Malach of Esav and Yaakov, when Yaakov asked him his name, do you know what he responded? He didn't tell him his name. He responded by saying, I don't want to tell you my identity. You're not going to know who I am anyway, which is mind-blowing because that's exactly the understanding of what the anti-Semitism has been throughout the years. There's no specific identity. We don't know who the enemy is because it changes in every generation, right? It's always something else and someone else. So that's just who we are. But we're extremely, extremely resilient. In fact, when was, and I'm asking this, you know, really just to everyone, if you know the answer, you know, you can just say it, but when was the time in our history where there was the largest amount of Jewish weddings, of Jewish marriages taking place in our history? You know when? No. Ironically, within the year after the Holocaust.
Wow.
Isn't that fascinating? You would think that these people would be, right? Yeah, you would think that they would be in despair. They would give up. They'd be like, I'm not continuing bringing generations into a world like this. But in that year, in about 1946, was the year of the most Jewish marriages. So it's mind-blowing if you understand this is who we are. We are a nation of resilience. And that's what we're supposed to be. So they can try to fight us. The darkness can try to attack the light, but the light is always going to shine. Okay? So that's important for everybody to understand, right? We're always going to shine. And we're promised that. All throughout Tehillim, we just have pasuk after pasuk where Hashem is telling us, you know, Ki lo yitosh Hashem amo, right? I'm never gonna abandon my nation. Like you might go through things, but you're always going to come out okay in the end. Okay? Okay, so now let's get to some of the questions that we had because I wrote them down. So I'll and if you want to add into any of the questions.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I know that things are coming up and I see your eyes. It's hard and it's distracting. No, ignore it. Like not guys, ask your questions. I'm not saying we're ignoring you. I'm saying get through what you prepared.
Okay.
We'll scroll. I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm like, I know when people are asking something, and we'll go back up and go.
Okay.
So guys, we are going to address you. We're not ignoring you, but you know, Yafa worked hard to go through the questions that were sent in. And I think that, she has a step by, a progression of what she wants to say. So it's very hard when you're on this side of the camera, guys. It's very hard to get focused.
Right.
And you're, like a question can just throw you, and then you just you can't find your home base again. Right. So I'm with you here, and just you'd say what, focus on your paper and your plan, and then we'll go through the afterwards.
Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, keep them coming, but I'm not looking. Okay, good. Fine. Fantastic.
I'll look.
Okay. Well, you look, and you just keep me posted. Okay. So I guess we'll start with, let me just see over here. Let's start with, okay, many people were asking how to have proper emunah. Sorry, I went there. How to have proper emunah. The question actually was, one of the questions was asked, how to have emunah when something just happens out of the blue? And I found that to be an interesting question. Then there were a few more, obviously, about emunah, also just regular. How are we supposed to really have emunah, and what should we be thinking when these tragedies happen? So that question I thought was interesting, when something happens out of the blue, as opposed to what? You know what I mean? Because usually that is how things happen. We're not usually expecting something, and that's where the challenge is, right? I'm gonna tell you something now that is really important to understand. I think this is really the basis and the most fundamental part of working on emunah, okay? Because the problem is that we wait to try to have emunah when there's a crisis. And really, emunah is something that we should be working on every single day. And that prepares us for the crisis. Like if we're just living our lives every day without Hashem involved in it at all, I'm not talking about the regular lip service we give Hashem. We might even daven, and we might say Baruch Hashem when someone asks how we are. It doesn't mean we're actually thinking of Hashem, living with Hashem, right? So having this understanding that emunah is something that needs to be worked on every day, and it needs to be worked on from the small things. We don't have to wait for a crisis to happen, because if we wait for a crisis to happen, it's very hard to make that switch. If every day I'm living without Hashem, an active part of my life, and then all of a sudden, something happens, I can't just suddenly invite him into my life. All of a sudden, that's when I'm going to start feeling resentment towards him. And why is this happening? So just like a practical way to work on our emunah every day would be with the small things. Open your eyes in the morning, and you have eyesight. Why do you have eyesight? Because Hashem wants you to see. And to lie in bed and say, thank you, Hashem. It was decreed in heaven that I can see. That's amazing. Open the fridge and you see it's filled with food, right? That's incredible. Just because I have food in my fridge today doesn't mean I'm going to have food in my fridge tomorrow. There's no guarantee. And it's this ability to thank Hashem for every little thing. And I'll tell you just personally, I'll get a little personal here. My husband and I, for many years, every time we got our paycheck, every month when we got a paycheck, we would take the money and we would say, Hashem paid us this month, right? This check, Hashem gave us a check this month. If we got it on time, we would say, Hashem paid us on time this month. If we got it late, we would say, Hashem is paying us a little late this month. Because when you have this understanding that everything comes from Hashem, then all of a sudden, what happens if you don't get paid? We have that understanding that it's from Hashem, because you appreciate it when it does happen. So
I want to just jump in with one little thing. So, I just made this bar mitzvah, and to me, like, I actually just finished, or I'm finishing, a 9-week emunah class that I've been taking. And it's just, it's so important to learn emunah and read about it and really learn how to implement it into your life in a day-to-day way, day-to-day basis. But when I was, just doing like the regular shopping, clothing, shoes, I really did. It was like, wow, thank you, Hashem, for helping me find that dress. And you made it so easy. Yes. I had a situation. One of my girls had her dress fixed and was not happy with it. And it was the Wednesday before the bar mitzvah. And I practiced one of these things that I learned in my class, where it's like, with Hashem's help, we are finding a dress that she loves that doesn't need work, because it's Wednesday and the bar mitzvah is Shabbos. And like we went in, and Baruch Hashem, she found a beautiful dress and she loved it, and it needed no work. And we went out of the car, and I said, now we say like Mizmor L'Soda, and it was like, I think when you look for the, like you're saying, the little things, and they're not so little. My husband was laughing. He's like, it's so cute. This whole bar mitzvah, you were like seeing Hashem in like every dress and every little, like I found pretty little beads to put on one of Adina's dresses that like was pretty plain, like that matched mine exactly. Like if you look for those little things, they're there, and then you feel so connected and so grateful, 100%. And like, wow, look what you're doing for me.
100%. I love that so much. And people ask me all the time, because I give Emunah classes also. I would love to hear about the ones you've taken. And people are always asking me, but is it like, does Hashem really want to hear about my silly, petty thank you? Like, thank you. Yes, he does. I thank Hashem every time I find a parking spot, because it's hard to find a parking spot. You know, every time my food comes out good, I thank Hashem. It could have easily have gotten burnt. I get spaced out all the time. Like every little thing, that's what he wants from us. And that's how we work on our emunah and bitachon, by recognizing it in the small little details. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And this is how we prepare ourselves for the big things. And Be'ez Hashem, they shouldn't necessarily be difficult big things, but everyone goes through a certain stress. We're not talking about tragedies, but just the bigger stresses in life, which are inevitable. These little doses of daily emunah prepare us for the bigger ones. It strengthens our emunah. So that's the answer to that. Okay, that's where it starts. Okay, so, and also, by the way, it helps us in general cope with other things. Like if I would not thank Hashem and recognize that Hashem is giving me a paycheck every month, and then I would just think it's my boss, which is a normal thing. Whatever, you know, subconsciously we know it's Hashem. But then if he would stop paying me or whatever, I would be angry at him. Right? And then it becomes a him thing, and then how do we respond and how do we approach him instead of being able to be like,
why are you doing this to me? Right.
Exactly. And if I realize that this is a pattern now that's not working out, very calmly, I'll be able to do my hishtadlus and say, okay, time to look for a new job. It's not about my boss. It was about, this is how things worked out, right? So again, it makes our lives, it reduces so much anxiety, developing this constant relationship with Hashem.
Oh my God. I know, it's so hard. I'm going to keep them down. If I move it, does it move? Are you also?
If you don't move? Oh, no, it doesn't move by me if you move them.
Oh, fine. Okay.
I don't think so. I'm fine. I'm glancing a tiny bit, just like emojis.
No, it's good. As long as it doesn't bother you. I don't want to.
No, I'm trying not to get distracted by it. I'm trying not to.
Okay.
It's hard, but I'm trying not to. Okay. So now I want to talk about, some questions came in about the ceremony, the Hachnasa Sefer Torah, right? And people, most people loved it. If anybody's not aware of what we're talking about, Rory posted a beautiful, beautiful video of the Hachnasa Sefer Torah that happened on the same street just the next morning in Muncie. And actually, just the way she described it to me, I was in tears. I was literally choked up. My son actually asked me, he passed by when I was on the phone with you, and he goes, why are you crying? Like, why are there tears in your... I was so moved by this story that they had this Hachnasa Sefer Torah the next morning, and it was a different shul, and they went over to the shul, Rabbi Rothenberg's shul, and it was just such a beautiful, exposition of achdos and beauty. Now it was, so I was very inspired by seeing that, but I understand that there were some people who didn't understand why it was appropriate to sing and dance the morning after this happened. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. First of all, there's a difference between a Hachnasa Sefer Torah, which is an act of celebrating the Torah, which means celebrating our existence, right? And having a party. This wasn't a party where people were laughing and having fun. This was a spiritual moment where people were connecting with who they were. Now, have in mind that this Hachnasa Sefer Torah was organized way before. It wasn't that they organized it that morning purposely to do this. Oh, maybe that would be a different story. I don't know. In this case, to cancel that Hachnasa Sefer Torah would have been a lot worse, because what happened? What's happening over here? If we understand what terrorism is, and by the way, this was an act of terrorism. This was what we call domestic terrorism. And what the goal of terrorism is to make us fear for our lives, to make us fear for living our normal lives. And if we would just, okay, the word just flew out of my brain. If we would just kind of, fall into like this shell of fear when things like this happen, then they're winning, because that's what they want to happen. They want us to become sad and to be consumed by our sadness. Again, we're the light. They're attacking us with darkness. So they're trying to attack our darkness and bring us down into their black hole. They're trying to attack our light and bring us down into their black hole. We're not going to let that happen. If they would have canceled that ceremony, that would have been doing exactly what they wanted to achieve. Right. So this isn't.
I just want to, because I saw that, most of the questions that came in, and one person in particular though said, but there's, and I just want you to address this. I'm not saying this or I agree with it, but but that there are people, for not even, let's say, for the terrorist part, but like, is it respectful to the people that were injured and that were in the hospital and the families that are suffering? Like, she felt that it was like rubbing it in their face, like being disrespectful, and I did reach out to her, like, it like you said, it wasn't a party. I was there. People were like sobbing. It was such a moment of tshuva and closeness to
sure.
Yeah, and it was such a moment of like tefillah for those people and achdus, and
right.
I can, I guess just to address that piece of like not just the terrorist attack, but that when people, just even not even this, but like in general, if other people are suffering, people might feel like it's disrespectful to live our lives and go on in simcha.
Right.
But
here's the thing.
So
It's a very good question, and it's a very good point. The thing is that this is how life works. The way life works is you are going to have
Hi guys, thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to do this. Hi Dina. So we're gonna wait for Yafa, and I'm so grateful that she's coming on. There's so many. Hi guys, thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to do this. Hi Dina. So we're gonna wait for Yafa, and I'm so grateful that she's coming on. There were so many amazing questions, really meaningful questions, very hard questions to answer, and I thought that she would be the perfect person to answer them. She's strong but sweet. She's got a tremendously beautiful message, and so really emes hashafa. So I'm excited for her to come on. Hi Renee. Let me just message her, make sure she's coming. Sure she is. We're waiting for you. Life with two phones. This was one of the things I did to help. There she is. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how to request to join? There you go. Here she comes. There we go. Hi.
Hello. You see me okay?
I see you. You're beautiful.
So are you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be out here with you.
Me too. This is great.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. So, first of all, I love your hair, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's not mine.
Right.
It works.
It's yours. You paid for it.
Yes.
I love when people ask me, like, that your hair? Oh, yeah, I paid a lot for this.
Exactly. Thanks. So yeah, thank you for joining us. I was so excited that you wanted to do this. I was getting such challenging questions, and to some people, we communicated. I spoke to them, just my own personal thoughts. But as it kept coming in, I've really never gotten so many messages on a topic ever. I for sure over 300 messages in 24 hours. Yeah. Oh my God. It was really. A lot of them were just like hearts and like Antisemitism, and a lot of them were just like, this was so moving. Thank you for sharing things like that. Okay. And then a lot of people had really hard questions. The first day was a lot of, how do I tell our children? So that's why I brought Rachel on. I know I myself had those questions. And it was also before they had the Hachmas Sefer Torah, before you saw that circle of what came together. So that was amazing. And I think it was so helpful. And there was so much amazing feedback and how people really gained so much from it. And it really, people were in like, I become my anxiety, like strong words, Really giving tools. I feel so much better. I was communicating with one more woman this morning, and she just said, like, I live in Muncie, and I know, I know what Rachel said about not talking to young kids, and she's telling me your concerns, and we talked it out, and she felt like, okay, like I have a plan of what to do. So I just realized that this really is, people have been coming here as a, just, I guess, yeah, I think what Rachel was saying yesterday is a tip place to feel support and to feel heard. But I really knew that I needed, the big guns here. And I mean, I love all of you. I love what Yafa stands for, what she's about. I don't really follow. I follow a lot of people, but really watch people's stories. I just don't have so much time, but Yafa is one of my, top choices if I have time. Because it's always such a real message set over so beautifully that touches the heart. And I think that your hashkafas hachayim it's a Torah hashkafa, and you give it over in such a real way, in such a way that I think people can actually feel like, oh, can do that. So I was so excited to have you join because we got some really tough questions that you got to see, and we went over them. We really we did our homework, guys. Really spoke today and talked this out, and I'm really excited for you to address the many really important concerns that people have.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for all that. And I'm very honored that you invited me to this live with you. And I hope that we'll be able to, really with Hashem's help, we'll be able to touch everybody, and what we say, it's coming from Torah, so hopefully it'll resonate with everybody. There's always going to be questions. There always are questions. And luckily, we are I'll say religion, for lack of a better word right now, that believes in questions, and we welcome questions. So questions are always great, and people need to understand, like, it doesn't mean you have a question of faith because you're asking questions. There's always questions, and there are always answers. So, very happy that people did send in their questions. People really want to learn and more understand more. So let's try to jump right in. And the thing I did want to mention was that it's important. Expectations are always the most important thing, really, in life. To have the right expectation for anything you're doing. This is regarding health. I mean, you know all about health. You have to have a healthy, realistic expectation for yourself, for anyone else, your family member. Regarding any part of personal growth, whatever it is. Point in life is.
You just frozen. Yeah, you froze for a second. Now you're back.
Okay, great.
Right.
So we'll just really what leads to the most disappointment in life is unrealistic expectations, and therefore they're broken, right? So first we need to understand, who are we? Who are we as a Jewish nation? What's our goal? What's our purpose here? Where are we heading in life? I also want to point out, by the way, people are right that it's breaking up. Just from previous experience, sometimes it goes in and out on the live. When you save it, it doesn't do that. So if anyone misses anything, they should go back afterwards. You're going to save it, right? Right. They should go back afterwards, and if they watch it again, it doesn't come with all the brokenness. So just everyone have in mind, okay? So what's the expectation for who we are, what's expected of us, and what we expect to be the place where we live, what's our expectation of living in America, because I find that if we understand who we really are, that we are a nation we're the torch carriers, and we are that because it's handed down. And I want you to know that a lot of the nations around the world, they know that. I do a lot of traveling. I meet so many people, and one of my favorite things to do is to sit on a plane next to somebody and to know them, people from all over the world, and or in an airport, with their hours. It's when I'm just making the flights, and so many times, I always make sure that people I'm Jew, and so many times they say, oh, you're a Jew, you're a chosen nation. Now, they don't always know what that means, but people are aware that we carry the torch. Now, what does it mean to be the chosen nation? That is, I don't know if we can go into all of it now, but it's misunderstood sometimes. Being chosen nation has something to do with privilege, it has something to do with superiority, right? It has to do with responsibility. It's just a responsibility that we carry, that we hold. And we can't pass down Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Where does anti-Semitism start? The first place that we recognize anti-Semitism in our history is in Parshas Vayishlach, which ironically, or not ironically, maybe I should say hashkachically, was actually the week of the attack in Jersey City. That's Parshas Vayishlach. And I actually spoke about it on a video that I thought some of you may have seen it. But the idea is that when Yaakov was fighting with Esau Malach, that was the first time we experienced this anti-Semitism between them. And what happened over there was Yaakov was known to be he's an Ayin Tov. That's who he was. There's proof after proof of how much of an Ayin Tov was. Somebody focused on the positive, somebody who always saw the light in the darkness. And Esau, he brought 400 men with him. The gematria of Ayin Tov is 400. The idea is that Esau was trying to beat Ayin Tov out of Yaakov. He couldn't handle his light because Esau represented darkness. And that is the story of us. The story of the Jewish people is that forever and ever, we are going to be the bearers of light, and people who live in darkness or represent darkness are going to target the light. Right? That's what we are. So we have to have that expectation. Okay. And by the way, within that story, Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. Yaakov fought back, by the way, which is an important concept, that he did fight back. because he was fighting for his right to carry the light, you know. And I want to mention this purposely to, you know, bring up what was about next. But during the fight, Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. You know, Israel means the definition of what?
Sharkel. I mean, that's one.
Okay, that's one, actually. That's one. Sharkel. Another meaning for Israel actually means to struggle. It means
yes. Right? It was actually my son's birth with Parshas Yishlach, and my husband spoke about that, right? Yeah.
Okay, so it means to struggle, because that's who we are. We're always going to be struggling with the darkness and trying to win with our light. That's who. So having this expectation actually can really reduce a lot of our anxiety, because sometimes you hear, this happened, what is happening again? Because it's supposed to happen. This is what's supposed to be happening. This is who we are. And it's our fate. So having this is something. The other thing is where we live. You know, sometimes we forget, because Baruch Hashem, we are so comfortable in America. We've been treated so well. We've been taken care of. We have so many rights. We have so much freedom. I mean, if I've lived in other places, I've been in Mexico, for example. In Mexico, we can have a shul with the Hebrew words on it. Everything is hidden. Everything is closed in. There's no way we could ever walk out publicly as a Jew. Like, it doesn't happen. We're really spoiled here in America. And on one hand, it's bracha. On the other hand, it's a little bit risky, because we naively assume that America will never turn on us because they love us, right? And that's what we need to always understand, the expectation. We don't assume anything is going to happen. And between you and me, I honestly think that the biggest threat we have right now as a Jewish nation is not anti-Semitism, it's assimilation. That's something to have in mind. Like, so scared about anti-Semitism. Assimilation is actually a way big threat. But it does, so we have to create balance for ourselves between not being naive to the fact that, of course, anything could happen. We're not safe. It isn't our home. And the balance between that and not being alarmed, not creating hysterics, because we're not in imminent danger. It's just part of our life as Jewish people. It's part of the struggle, and that's a natural part of who we are. It's supposed to happen. So having that expectation can reduce a lot of anxiety, you know, and help a lot of acceptance. So that's the first thing I want to mention. In addition to that, we as the Jewish nation are also extremely resilient. I mean, does it make any sense that we're still around? It makes no sense. It really doesn't. Right? We know the Chaldar they tried to kill us over and over. And by the way, back to the story with Esau, and Malachal, Esau, and Yaakov. When Yaakov asked him his name, do you know he responded? He didn't tell him his name. He responded by saying, I don't want to tell you my identity. You're not going to know who I am anyway. Which is mind-blowing, because exactly the understanding of what anti-Semitism has been throughout the years. There's no specific identity. We don't know who the enemy is, because it changes in every generation, right? It's always something else, someone else. So that's just who we are. We're extremely, extremely resilient. In fact, when was, and I'm asking this, really just everyone, if you know the answer, you can say it, but when was the time in our history where there was the largest amount of Jewish weddings, of Jewish marriages taking place in our history? You know when? Ironically, within the year after the Holocaust.
Wow.
Isn't it fascinating? You would think that these people would be, right? Yeah, you would think they would be in despair, would give up. They'd be like, I'm not continuing bringing generations into a world like this. But in that year, in about 1946, was the year of most Jewish marriages. So it's mind-blowing if you understand this is who we are. We are a nation of resilience. And that's what we're supposed to be. So they can try to fight us. The darkness can try to attack the light, but light is always to shine. Okay? So that's important for everybody to understand. Right? We're always going to shine. We're promised that. We all found to him. We just look at Pasuk where Hashem is telling us, Kilo Tosh Shem Amo, right? I'm never gonna abandon my nation. Like, you might go through things, but you're always gonna come out okay in the end. Okay? Okay, so now let's get some of the questions we had. I wrote them down. So, and if you want to add in any of the questions,
yeah, I'm just gonna say that I know that things are coming up, and I see your eyes. It's hard and it's distracting.
No, it's
want to ignore. Okay. Like not guys, ask your questions. I'm not saying we're ignoring you. I'm saying through what you prepared.
Okay.
We'll scroll. I'm keeping an eye on it. I know when people are asking something, and we'll go back up. And okay. So guys, we are gonna address you. We're not ignoring you, but Alpha worked hard to go through the questions that were sent in, and I think that she has a a progression of what she wants to say. So it's very hard when you're on this side of the camera, guys. It's very hard to focus. Right. You're like a question could throw you, and then just know you can find your your home base again. Right. So I'm with you here, and just you'd say focus on your paper and your plan, and then go through the.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, keep them coming, but I'm not looking. Okay, fine. I'll look. Well, you look, and you keep me posted. Okay. So I guess we'll start with. Let me see over here. Let's start with, many people were asking how to have proper emunah. Sorry, I went there. How to proper emunah. The question actually was, one of the questions asked, how to have emunah when something just happens out of the blue? And I found it to be an interesting question. And then a few more obviously about emunah, also just regular, how are we supposed to really have emunah and should we be thinking these tragedies happen? So that question I thought was interesting when something happens out of the blue as opposed to what? You know what I mean? Because usually that is how things happen. We're not usually expecting something. And that's where the challenge is, right? I'm gonna tell you something now that is really important to understand. I think this is really the basis and the most fundamental part of working on emunah. Okay, the problem is that we wait to try to have emunah when it's a crisis, and really emunah is something that we should be working on every single day, and that prepares us for the crisis. You know, like if we're just living our lives every day without Hashem involved in it at all, I'm not talking about the regular lip service we give Hashem. You know, we might do daven and we might say Baruch Hashem when someone asks how we are. It doesn't mean we're actually thinking of Hashem, living with Hashem, right? So having this understanding that emunah is something that needs to be worked every day, and it needs to be worked from the small things. We don't have to wait for Christ to happen, because if we wait for Christ to happen, it's very hard to make that switch. Every day I'm living without Hashem and as part of my life, and then all of a sudden, you know, something happens. I can't suddenly try to miss my life. All of a sudden, that's when I'm going to start feeling resentment towards him. And why? Why is it happening? So just a practical way to work on our emunah every day would be the small things. Open your eyes in the morning, and you have eyesight. Why do you have eyesight? Because Hashem wants you to see, and lay there to lie in bed and say, "Thank you, Hashem. It was decreed in heaven that I can see." That's amazing. Open the fridge and you see it's filled with food, right? That's incredible. Just because I have food in my fridge today doesn't mean that I have food in my fridge tomorrow. There's no guarantee, and it's this ability to thank Hashem for every little thing. I'll tell you just personally. I'll get a little personal here. My husband and I, for many years, every time we got a paycheck, every month when we got a paycheck, we would take the money and we would say, "Hashem pays this month. This check, Hashem gave us back this month." If we got it on time, we would say, "Hashem paid us on time this month." If we got it late, we would say, "Hashem is paying us a little late this month." Because when you have this understanding that everything comes from Hashem, then all of a sudden, what happens if you don't get paid? We have the understanding this from Hashem, because you appreciate it when it does happen. So
I want to start with one little thing. So I just made this bar mitzvah, and to me, like, I actually just finished, or I'm finishing a 9-week emunah class that I'm taking, and it's just, it's so important to learn emunah and read about it and really learn how to implement it into your life on a day-to-day basis. But when I was, just doing like the regular shopping, clothing, shoes, I really did. It was, wow, thank you, Hashem, for helping me find that dress and made it so easy. We had a situation. One of my girls had her dress fixed and was not happy with it, and it was Wednesday before the bar mitzvah, and I practiced one of these things that I learned in my class with Hashem's help. We're finding a dress that she loves that doesn't need work because it's Wednesday and the bar mitzvah is Shabbos. And like we went in and Baruch Hashem, she found a beautiful dress and she loved it and it needed work. And we went out of the car and now we like saying more Lizoda, and it was I think when you look for like the little things, and not so little, my husband was laughing. He's like, "It's so cute, this whole bar mitzvah." You were like, see Hashem in like every dress and every little, like, I found pretty little beads to put on one of his dresses that like was pretty plain, like that matched mine exactly. Like if you look for those little things, they're there. And then if you feel so connected and so grateful, and like, oh, look what you're doing for me.
100%. I love that so much. And people ask me all the time, because I have emunah classes also. I would love to hear about ones you've taken. And people are always asking me, but is it like, does Hashem really want to hear about my silly, petty thank you? I was like, thank you. Yes, he does. I thank Hashem every time I find a parking spot, because it's hard to find a parking spot. Every time my food comes out good, thank Hashem. It could have easily gotten burnt. I get spaced out all the time. Like every little thing, that's what he wants for us. And that's how we work on our emunah and tachot. I recognize it in the small little details. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And this is how we prepare ourselves for big things. And Hashem, they shouldn't necessarily be difficult big things, but everyone goes through certain stresses. We're not talking about tragedies, but just the bigger stresses in life are inevitable. These little doses of daily emunah prepare us for bigger ones. It strengthens our emunah. So that's the answer to that. Okay, so that's where it starts. Okay. So, and also, by the way, it helps us in general cope with other things. Like if I would not thank Hashem and recognize that Hashem's giving me a paycheck a month, and then I would just think it's my boss, which is a normal thing, whatever, subconscious, we know it's him. But then if he was not paying me, whatever, I would be angry at him. Then it becomes a him thing, and how do we respond and how do we approach him instead of being able to be like,
"Are you doing it to me?" Right.
Exactly. And if I realize that there's a pattern now that's not working out, very calmly, I'll be able to do my hishtadlus and say, okay, time to look for a new job. It's not about my boss. It was about this is how things work out, right? So it makes our life, it reduces such anxiety, developing this constant relationship with Hashem.
I know, it's so hard. I'm going to put them down. If I move it, does it move? I do also?
If you don't move? Oh, no, it doesn't by me if you move them.
Oh, fine.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Fine. I'm glancing at I need this. It's like emoji.
No, it's
like,
good. As long as it doesn't bother you. I don't.
No, I'm trying not to distract by it. I'm trying not to.
Okay.
It's hard, but I'm trying not to. Okay. So now I want to talk about some questions came in about the ceremony, the Achna Sefer Torah, right? And people, most people loved it. If anybody's not aware of what we're talking about, Rory posted a beautiful, beautiful video of the Achna Sefer Torah that happened on the same street just the next morning in Muncie. And actually, just the way she described it to me, I was in tears. I was literally choked up. My son actually asked me, when I was on the phone with him, and he goes, "Why are you crying? Like, why are there tears in your?" I was so moved by the story that he had this Achna Sefer Torah the next morning, and it was a different shul, and they went over to the shul, Rabbi Rottenberg shul, and it was just such a beautiful, exposition of Achta and beauty. Now it was, so I was very inspired by seeing that. I understand that there were some people who didn't understand why it was appropriate to sing and dance the morning after it happened. So I want to talk a little about that. First of all, there's a difference between a Hachnasa Sefer Torah, which is an act of celebrating the Torah, which means celebrating our existence, right? And having a party. It wasn't a party where people were laughing and having fun. This was a spiritual moment where people were connected with who they were. Now, have in mind that this Hachnasa Sefer Torah was organized the week before. It wasn't they organized it that morning purposely to do this. Oh, maybe that would be a different story. I don't know. In this case, to cancel the Hachnasa Sefer Torah would have been a lot worse, because what was happening over here? If we understand what terrorism is, and by the way, this was an act of terrorism. This was what we call domestic terrorism. And what the goal of terrorism is to make us fear for our lives, to make us fear for living our normal lives. And if we would just, we're just out of my brain, if we was kind of, allow fall into like a shell of fear, when things like this happen, they're winning, because that's what they want to happen. They want us to become sad and to be consumed by sadness. Again, we're the light. They're attacking us with darkness. So they're trying to attack our darkness and bring us down into their black hole. They're trying to attack our light and bring us down into their black hole. We're not going to let that happen. If they would cancel that ceremony, that would have been doing exactly what they wanted to achieve. Okay, so this is.
I just wanted, because I saw the most of the questions that came in, and one person in particular said, and I want you to address this. I'm not saying this, I agree with, but that there are people, not even, let's say, for terrorist part, but like, is it respectful to the people that were injured and were in the hospital and the families that are suffering? Like, she felt that it was like rubbing it in the face, like being disrespectful, and I did reach out to her, like, it's like you said, it wasn't a party. I was there, people were like sobbing, or it was such a moment of tshuva and closeness. Sure. Yeah, and it was such a moment of like tefillah for those people and nachas, and right. I guess just to address that piece of like not just the terrorist attack, but that when people, not even this, but like in general, if other people are suffering, people might feel like it's disrespectful to live our lives and go on in simcha.
Right.
But
here's the thing. It's a very good question. That's a very good point. The thing is that this is how life works. The way life works is you are going to have pay a shiva call one day and you're going to have a bris on the same day. Right? It's a cycle of life. It's how life works. We have to be able to experience all of the emotions. My father passed away right after I gave birth. I had a newborn, and my father passed away, and I remember that having to split my emotions, I'm not even call it decompartmentalizing, because it wasn't. I was able to feel both at the same time. One doesn't contradict the other. And again, as you said, wasn't that it was a party where people were crying. They were, but they were celebrating life. Right. Because we always celebrate life. We celebrate living. That's who we are. The people in the hospital, I guarantee, without even knowing them, without even asking them, I can guarantee you, they would never have wanted to cancel the Hachnasa Sefer Torah. Never. They would want people to celebrate life. That's what we do. We don't celebrate death. We don't celebrate tragedy. We celebrate life. So that's who we are. And those people, it's not the respect to them. It's actually extremely respectful. We're celebrating who we are. We're not allowing terrorism to win. We're not allowing antisemitism to win. And I'm telling you, as I said, when these people have refuah shlema, anyone who knows them personally can ask them, would you have wanted to cancel Hachnasa Sefer Torah, and see what their response is. Right. Okay. So let's get to another question now. So a lot of people were asking how to process this without hate and anger. People are feeling a lot of hate, a lot of anger. And how can this be processed? So this is one of the most fundamental aspects of emunah and bitachon, and also one of the most fundamental points about forgiveness, which I want to share with everybody now. We're not getting to the forgiveness aspect yet, but we'll touch upon that afterwards. A person who does a crime like this, that person has nothing to do, in essence, with what has happened to us. What do I mean by that? Yes, this person, in an intellectual place, this person is scum of the earth. Okay? He did a horrible thing. He's a horrible person. But what he did is not about us. What happened to us was something Hashem wanted. He was the messenger for this to happen. Now, did he do the right thing? Of course not. He did a horrible thing, and he's going to have to hash this out with God, whenever it's the right time. This is between him and God. Have to get punished for what he did, of course. But what happened to us happened because Hashem wanted it to. If this guy wouldn't have done it, somebody else would have done it, right? Because there's a reason it had to happen, and there was a message that we need to learn within this, which is why anything happens in life. Every single thing that we experience, or that whether it's directly or indirectly, there's an indirect experience for most of us, we experience it, or any person that we encounter, there's a very specific reason we encountered it. There's a specific reason we had to experience it, or hear about it, or feel that sadness. And there's a message in it and a lesson in it. Now, the thing is that all of these messages and all these lessons are very individualized, right? It doesn't mean that it's necessarily a message because of something that happened in that community. And it doesn't mean that's necessarily the same message for every one of us. We each have something else to learn from it. But it had to happen, and there was a reason to experience it. So when we have the understanding that this guy was just a messenger from Hashem, and this is anything in life, let's go back to the boss, right? Or if you have a boss who mistreats you, or doesn't pay you, or whatever, he's a messenger from Hashem. It's not him. Somebody does something wrong to us, somebody humiliates us in public, whatever. It's painful. That person was wrong, and they're going to have to account for the actions. But it happened because Hashem wanted it to happen to us, and they're a messenger. So this is something so fundamental in Emunah and Bitachon and in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism itself, that we have to understand. This guy, there's no point in having hate, anger towards him. It's about him. He's irrelevant in what's going on between Hashem and us. Okay? So that's really the first most important thing. We have to understand that there's no chaos in the world. We don't live in a world of chaos. And I love when people ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people? The typical cliche question. And it's sometimes people feel bad asking this question. Am I not worried? Like, why ask? The opposite. The opposite. When you ask and when you wonder in your mind, why do bad things happen to people? You have the awareness that the world is not chaos. That there is a God running the world, a God who is just and fair, and he's running this world, and therefore it doesn't seem to be fair what happened. So you have a question on that, and that means you have Emunah Bitachon, and it's a very legitimate question. So we understand this across the board. And when we have, and again, back to our, the daily Emunah concept, when we ask questions, why me, right? Why did this happen to me? Why am I suffering? Why am I struggling? Or why my community hurts? Or why us as Jews? Why me? Why me? We ask why me for the negative. But do we ever ask why me for the positive? Do we ever say, why me? Why did Hashem bless me with healthy children? Why did Hashem bless me with such a good job? And with so much parnasa? Why did Hashem bless me with such a wonderful husband? Why me? Right? Have this understanding that Hashem is taking care of me, and it's across the board. When there is Emunah and Bitachon, it goes across the board. We have to accept it with positive and accept it with the negative, and understand that everything comes from Hashem. It is not a world of chaos. Okay? Again, this helps us for living. Sometimes we live in fear, anxiety. It can help us so much to be able to stop and concentrate and focus on a minute. There's a Hashem who runs the world. And I'll get personal again for a minute, if that's okay, just because people might be able to relate this and connect with this a little bit. I lived in Israel during the Intifada. Okay, I got married and I moved to Eretz Yisrael. We lived there in 2001. I think the Intifada began, something like that. 2000. I don't remember. That's when I lived there. It was so scary. I cannot even. I was pregnant with my first child when the Intifada began. Every day, buses were blowing up all around me. Restaurants were blown up. People that I saw one day, I may not have seen the next day. Like, it was so scary, and I actually developed tremendous anxiety, and it wasn't me. I didn't understand it. I didn't even know until years later that it was anxiety that I was struggling with, because I didn't understand. I didn't recognize. This is back in 2001 when nobody spoke about anxiety so much, and this was before social media. It's the beginning of the internet. Like, nobody knew. I didn't even have internet yet. Because it was dial-up. You had to pay by minute, and we're in Koel who paid for that, and even by orange juice. Anyway, so I was really, really struggling. My anxiety got so bad that I actually developed agoraphobia. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that's when you're scared of open spaces, you're scared of public spaces. I was petrified to leave my house. I developed these phobias, completely unrealistic phobias. I was so afraid to walk down the street. When I walked down the street, I just pictured, and this was before the days of the car rammings, but I pictured every car just time I got to the sidewalk knocking me over. I was scared to walk under street lamps. I just pictured the street lamp falling on me. Like, I was so scared of everything, and it was awful. I couldn't function. And this persisted through my pregnancy, through my birth, throughout my second pregnancy. As long as the thought was going on, I had so much anxiety. And again, I didn't recognize, I didn't know who I was. It was a really, really, it was petrifying. And I couldn't even really discuss it with my husband because I didn't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to find what I was feeling. And I didn't know, and I also didn't want to know. Like, I was this strong, confident woman. I didn't even want to know. And I didn't want to tell my mother because she's getting so much nachas from me. I didn't want to tell her, oh, you know, inside I'm really a mess. She was so proud of me. You know what I mean? It's hard. And all again, I didn't know how to describe it. So at a certain point, I said, this isn't me. I know what's happening to me. I don't like this new me. I think I just need to learn Emunah B'Tachon. And that's when I started. I bought myself a sefer, and I sat down every day and started learning Emunah B'Tachon. And you know what? I grew up in the Beis Yaakov system. Okay, I call myself a Beis Yaakov survivor. Right? I can't. I know it's good and not good. So you know, I grew up from my whole life, and I did all the mitzvos, whatever. You know, I don't think I had a relationship with Hashem. I don't think I did. I was doing everything habitually. I was doing everything by rote. I was, talking the talk for sure. And I don't know how to relationship with Hashem. And as soon as I started learning Emunah B'Tachon, my entire life changed. I felt this like black cloud that was hovering over me for years. I felt it lift completely. I suddenly felt so free and so relaxed. My entire world changed. Ever since then, I've been continuing to study my Emunah B'Tachon, and I've been continuing. Now I teach it. I really try to live it because that's really the only way to get rid of anxiety and fear. Now, of course, there's levels, and not take away from a kind of chemical imbalance. I am very pro medication when people leave medication. I didn't take medication mostly because I didn't even know that there was such a thing. I didn't even know what I had. As mentioned, for me, it was, and Baruch Hashem, for me, it wasn't clinical anxiety and depression. It was more situational, and so it was a different story. But for most people have this type of anxiety. Where we just live with fear and we live with phobias, and we're scared of life. And after 9/11, by the way, I think the world changed. I think most of the anxiety in the world developed since 9/11. People just never know anymore. People looking over their shoulder all the time. And now every time these things happen in our communities, we lose more and more of that confidence in who we are. So understanding that the world is not chaos. Hashem runs the world. And yes, sometimes we have a hard time understanding why he's choosing to run it the way he's running it, and why he's this is happening and that's happening. But when we understand that it's not chaos, that there is a plan, a very well thought out plan, it really can relieve us so much of these fears and anxieties. Okay.
I can jump in with one thing. Of course, beautiful. I mean, I have to talk a lot more, but I think I have to come to Florida. I'm like,
please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I'm not coming to see in January.
For sure. We're figure this out. But
yes,
I think that one of the things that you're saying that I think is so important is that it's not chaos. But at the same time, I know something that really is life-changing for me is realizing that Hashem has a plan and we're too small to understand it. I think we're always trying to figure out why. And we can. So I remember hearing years ago of Esther Schwartz where she describes our minds in comparison to Hashem. And like a woman who's cooking in a kitchen, I guess, really resonated. And she's making a chicken soup and she's peeling vegetables and she's making a chicken. And there's an ant on the floor. And the ant is looking at her like, why is she breaking the vegetable? And like, why is she rounding the vegetables? And like panicking. I'm like, do not understand what's crazy lady's doing, but she's making soup and it's exactly what she should be doing. To the ant, with its primitive mind, it can't comprehend the factor of what women's do making chicken soup. And I just thought was like, I don't know, it clicked in my brain because usually food related things are just, and I'm a very visual learner, which works for me. But
exactly.
Like I have to remind myself all the time that like we don't understand Hashem's bigger picture, and that I remember she also saying Esther, I haven't got a year, but I used to be like a junkie, and she said that when Mashiach comes, it's going to be also like we're coming to the part where the brothers, where Yosef reveals himself to the brothers, and he said that's going to be when Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to reveal himself, and we're all going to we're all going to understand then. But to realize that we can't understand the Holocaust, we can't understand 9/11, we can't understand why innocent people who were trying to people ask me, like, they were involved in mitzvah, aren't you supposed to be like protected when you're in a mitzvah? We can't understand. And if we can just accept that we can't understand, but that Hashem is so much greater than us. And like you said, the fact that we're still here is the proof that it doesn't make sense. We don't make sense. We don't make sense. We can't try to make sense of things that are beyond. Like, I love that there are some mitzvahs that we shyness. There's no answer. It's hope. That is part of having emunah. Is some things are a hope. We can always ask questions, but sometimes the answer just is we can't understand Hashem's ways. We can't. Emunah is trusting that Eino Novado, and that everything Hashem does is for our ultimate good, even if it doesn't feel good for us right now.
Exactly. I love that added all that in. It's so true. That really is what it is. The example you gave of the ant is great. I give a similar example. Like, I really like if we were seeing in like a course given by Albert Einstein. He's teaching his whole theory to us. Like, I wouldn't understand a word. And I would up and say, that guy's an idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about. No, he knows what he's talking about. He's brilliant.
Right. Our
This makes sense. I don't have mental capacity, intellectual capacity to understand his theories. And that's what it is. You know, like, and to have that again, that also reduces so much anxiety for us to know we are not in control of this world and we can't control it. We don't understand how things work. To take a step back. And one of my favorite Mishnayos, is Lo Lecha Melech Ligmar, right? It's not up to you. The outcome is not up to you. The result is not up to you. And sometimes, okay, so that's such a relief, like, phew, okay. But what's the end of the Mishnah? But you're not free from doing the effort. Right? You have to put in your hishtadlus. You have to put in the effort. That's what Hashem expects from us. But that hishtadlus doesn't mean that that's going to create a kind of change. This can get, with a few questions about tefillah.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a perfect thing even for tefillah, and also because we have like 15 minutes left, so I think we can do this for hours.
Okay.
We will do more, guys. We will do more. Mir Hashem. I love you.
Absolutely. I'm loving this. Okay.
But I think that two of the big questions that came up a lot was the tefillah piece and also the security piece. So I think, like, I would even say to start with that, like you're saying, we have to do our shtabla, and those are some of the questions that are coming here on stage. Is like people are like, no, okay, great, all this Una, but like, don't we have to up security and don't we have to protect ourselves? Like, we can't just let ourselves be like sheep to slaughter. So where does that play a role in Emunah Bitachon?
Okay, great. These are great questions, and I'm gonna try to get to both of these. Obviously, connected to tefillah also. I'm gonna be two parts over here. Okay, so what can we do about it? This is a question we kept getting. What are we supposed to do? Right. So number one, let's talk about hishtadlus. What is our hishtadlus from a physical place? Physical hishtadlus is absolutely 100% Torah perspective to protect ourselves in whatever way we can. V'shmartem me'od nafsholechem. Not just v'shmartem, me'od. Take very, very good care of yourself.
That's my line.
That is your motto.
Biggest mitzvah. It's the only mitzvah that says oh.
The only mitzvah that says me'od. We have to take this. So we have an obligation to protect ourselves. In fact, my husband and I were talking about today that we're going to take self-defense classes. We're going to learn self-defense. You can never, hopefully they'll never have to use it. But I actually remember a story of a friend of my husband's, and they were still in yeshiva. Who was in Israel, Toronto, and some guys in the neighborhood, kept starting up the yeshiva boys, and it would beat them up, and it was really a terrible situation. What was going on? This is going back, I guess, 25 years ago. I would beat them up, and one of the guys, my husband's very good friend, actually was a black belt in karate, and he was picked on. He left the yeshiva, and his guys attacked him. He was a black belt. He beat his guys to a pulp, and they never ever went back to the yeshiva again. Sometimes you have to fight back. Let's go back to Yaakov and Esav. He did fight back. He didn't say, oh, okay, whatever, I'll just shine my light. No.
Right. Last show, we had armies. We had to fight for it as well. We're not lemelas,
with the Maccabees. Maccabees were a group of yeshiva bachrim. These scrawny, they were these scrawny little yeshiva guys. They were up against army. They fought back, and sometimes that's all we need to do, by the way. Sometimes the only thing Hashem is expecting of us is to do our shtabla, just to take one step and say, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to do what I need to do to protect myself. And he pulls along just the whole miracle of Hanukkah. Again, Hanukkah's over now. It's happened on Hanukkah, and we're still in the Hanukkah spirit a little bit. That, this was the whole idea. The whole idea of the miracle of the nation happened was Hashem said, okay, did your hishtadlus. I'm going to pull you along the rest of the way. Sometimes that's all that's needed. So physical hishtadlus, yes, we should get security. Personally, I think have Hashem so many chesed organizations and have everything showrim, and we have everything is taken care of. Maybe as a community, we need to open an organization teaching self-defense to all the yeshivas, to the girl schools, whoever can have the opportunity to start something like this. I'm suggesting it. Let's do it. Teach self-defense. Everybody should know how to defend themselves if they have to. So as a community, up our security. We definitely have to. I know here in Miami, my kids' yeshiva have top-notch security, and it's amazing. We know that we had a scare a couple weeks ago. They found a guy with a knife in the back of my kid's school. Within 2 seconds, it was taken care of because there was security on every side of school. So called the cops, and so we need, whatever we need to do. That's our obligation from a physical hishtadlus. Okay, and even as women, by the way, women should absolutely learn self-defense. Why shouldn't we? Right? Why are we any different? We're just as and even more vulnerable than men.
Yeah,
sure. I just remembered there was a story in Israel a few years ago. Did you remember this? I think it was probably in the West Bank, a home that was broken into, unfortunately, and the woman was a master at Krav Maga, and she beat the guy up, and she beat the gun out of him, and she saved herself and her family.
Wow. Someone's asking, what about women learning how to use a gun?
Look, I mean, I know that this is very controversial, even in our society as a whole today, So it's very hard. Like, there's no specific answer from the Torah about guns, no guns. That is something that should be discussed between families and their Rav, for sure.
And why they feel they need that level. Right.
That's why, because it's very individualized. What's your emotional makeup? What's your, everybody needs a different level. What I'm going to say now is that we have an obligation to protect ourselves and defend ourselves. The way you choose to do that should be discussed between husbands and wives, or parents and children, and your Rav. That's what I think. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So that is from a physical, and also have in mind, by the way, this is not about initiating fights. This is just about self-defense. We don't initiate, right? We just, just for self-defense. Okay, so this is hishtadlus in a physical sense. Then what we need, here's what I want to stress something from a more spiritual perspective now. Antisemitism is sinas chinam. That's really what it is. Because sinas chinam is baseless hatred. That's how we define it, baseless hatred. But I actually spoke about this on Tisha B'Av. So I don't know who saw that and who remembers, but I'll repeat it again. Sinas chinam, we understand it to be hatred, but between you and me, like, how many people do we actually hate? We don't hate that many people. Like, we hate enough people that Mashiach shouldn't be here by now, And if we're defining anti-Semitism as sinas chinam, then are we actually going around killing people and hurting people? We're not. So sinas chinam is not necessarily referring to hatred. Sinas chinam actually just means baseless rejection. What'd you say?
Yeah, baseless.
Baseless, exactly, rejection.
You're not like me, right?
Exactly. When we look at another person and instantly we size them up and down, right? And we make these judgments about them, and we know that they are different than we are, and we reject them. Our children can't marry them, and we can't hang out with them, and we just make these, these borders and these walls between us. They are them, I am me. That is sinas chinam. And anti-Semitism is also, it's baseless hatred. Why are they hating us? They're not hating us because we did anything to them. They're hating us because we're different, just because we're Jews. And why is anti-Semitism happening? The way anti-Semitism gets its energy is from our sinas chinam. When we have this rejection between us and this, hatred, this sinna between us, we give energy to anti-Semitism. So when people ask, what can I do? What am I, I'm not going to walk around with, necessarily with a gun, killing people, and I am not going to stand up and make a difference. What can I do? This is what we can do. What we can do is work on our ahavas chinam, loving people for no reason, right? People don't need a reason for us to love them. And I was actually trying to think of something that we can do practically right now as a community, right here. What can we do practically to create more ahavas chinam? And I don't really know if anyone has a good idea. I would love to hear it, but I'm thinking maybe we can start with doing something for someone else, an act of kindness, whatever it is, big or small, for someone specifically not in our community, right? Go out of our way, someone that doesn't necessarily agree with us or have the same opinions or the same hashkafa or whatever it is. And doing something. Now, again, just because I know things have to be in context, I don't want someone to be like, oh, so you mean like the Neturei Karta and Leif Tahar and all those. There are reasons why we don't agree with what they're doing. It's not baseless, right? This is what.
And we don't have time, but my brother told me an amazing story about how like the root of when it happened in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, like what the fight was and how it turns from a real reason, like a real machlokas that wasn't baseless, but then everyone started turning it into baseless. That's for next time.
That's for next time. Absolutely.
But I think another thing that I think an important word that I think is coming to that people can resonate, even if they can't do anything, but I think when we say that things happen to teach us a lesson, the word tshuva, right? It's so we should do tshuva. People that repent and that, no. Tshuva means to come close. So when something happens, it's for us to look within ourselves. So maybe even a change in Abbas Chinam and doing that tshuva is just to stop and say, where do I judge? Because when you point one finger at somebody, you're pointing 3 back at yourself. So where am I pointing a finger at other people, and just notice? Like, I think that's just step one. It's just, oh, wow, look, I'm judging the way she dresses. I'm judging where she goes to school. I'm judging who she's with. I'm judging the way she X, Y, or Z. I'm judging. Ooh, wait a minute. Let me notice that. And let me make a choice to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think that's even like step one, is just noticing, because I think we're all, oh, I don't hate people, like you said, but Sinas Chinam doesn't mean hating. It means judging. It means,
judging and rejecting. Rejecting. I like to use the word rejection.
Rejecting, right? Because even judgment is like, oh, you're judging me.
No,
you're
it's
rejecting.
It's a rejection.
Rejecting a person is so painful. Feeling rejected. So it's really to ask ourselves, who am I rejecting, and do I want to choose to stay in that place? I think that's even like just step one.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. So let's, yes, I would love to figure out, let's, to start whatever we can start, but everybody can just do something on your own. It doesn't even have to be a group project. It's nice when it is.
Yeah, no,
because people feel connected, but on our own, we should definitely start working on how are we viewing other people? Why do we feel the need to look at others inferior to ourselves, right? Why do we feel that? Where's that coming from? And to do a little bit introspection, because our job is to be a light unto the nations. And by the way, I think, and I say this with a lot of love for, this specific set. I hate categories. I don't like categorizing people, but it happens to be the truth, a fact that Reform Judaism hijacked Tikkun Olam from us. Reform Jews are so busy with Tikkun Olam. They want to fix the world and make it a better place. We don't think about the world so much. We're really living, sometimes in our own little corners of life without realizing, how can I make the world a better place, right? And this is something that I think we need to gain back and take. Now, if it doesn't come from a Torah perspective, then you're not doing Tikkun Olam right. So we have an opportunity to do it right. But it has to be, but I just wanted to throw that in there to have this awareness of what it means to be a light unto the nations. It has to start, with being a light into our nation, and then we can be a light into the other nations as well. So there were a couple of more things. I see we're running out of time now.
Yeah, I'm afraid that if we don't end it, it'll cut itself off, and then I won't be able to save it.
It's true.
So I think we should, like a minute, because I'm scared. I mean, I started at exactly 8. So
okay, so we'll end with this. There's so much more to say. Maybe we can do another live, or maybe, we'll figure out another way to do this. I'm more than happy to come tomorrow night if people want to hear more, B'ez Hashem, or tomorrow morning, whatever. Okay. But I do want to end with just this idea of just to reiterate that as Jewish people, we're supposed to be alive. We're supposed to celebrate life. And this is why you had mentioned to me that Rabbi Rottenberg went back to the shul afterwards and continued having a Malava Malka, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. We are not supposed to be focusing on the darkness. And it doesn't mean not to feel the darkness. We have to feel the pain. And yes, we should cry for the people who were hurt. And yes, we have to feel, the pain for anyone who's sick or unwell. But it's not supposed to consume us. The sadness can't consume us. We can't let the darkness lead our lives. The light has to leave. The darkness can be felt. But if it's led by the light, then we understand how to relate to it in a healthy way. And our job is to continue living, to live internally for who we are, to be proud of who we are internally. And that's one thing I want to continue speaking about next time, because we don't have time now. But I remember I wanted to speak about being a proud Jew versus being a loud Jew. Yeah. They're not the same. So I'm going to end on this cliffhanger. I will talk about it more.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of people want more. So if you want to come back on tomorrow, we can continue. But I guess I just want to, in the last 30 seconds, is guys, don't feel guilty living your life and being happy. I mean, I'm going to post a new recipe tomorrow. Like we have to do what the Rebbe did. We have to move on. We have to live life. We have to show them no one's going to stop us because we believe in Hashem. And Hashem gave us a new day of life because he wants us to do life.
And this is what Hashem wants from us. He doesn't want us to be curled on the floor in depression, to fall into despair. He wants us to continue with our Simchas HaChaim and to shine our light into our families, into the world, and, you know, into life. That's what he wants. Thank
what
you,
a great
Marty.
way to end Hanukkah,
Yes,
right? Bringing
yes,
in the light.
absolutely.
We finished, we're bringing it right back. Okay, guys, I'll keep you posted with the next time.
Please save it, okay? Save it. I love you all.
Hashem. I
Thank
hope
you
it's
for
going to work.
joining us. Absolutely.
Right now. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.